Thanks, Sane. Thank you so much for the introduction. And it's a pleasure to be here, everybody. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you wherever you may be in the world. And thanks for the privilege to present. We at Supplant Foods are an ingredient company that's a specialist in developing innovative ingredients that we are applying to the plant-based space, plant-based dairy included, with the idea to help make solutions that CPG companies can take forward into the market. So as we get into this, when we looked at the market, our understanding was that companies really needed ingredients that are going to be flavorless, functional, and affordable in order to take plant-based to the level that it needs to be to really replace traditional dairy. And as we looked at the market and looked at the spectrum of what's sustainable, non-GMO, non-allergenic, which were also criteria for us, we realized that it's the chickpea that is front and center in terms of its ability to be all of those things, right? But what was holding chickpea back was the fact that it carried a lot of flavor and that the protein was not functional. It also carried a lot of color. So we went to work and realized that we can develop a chickpea flour, which has a lot of the function of chickpea protein, and essentially make it flavorless as well. And since it's a flour, it ends up being affordable. That was the theory, and we took it to practice and realized that, heck, it does work in various different applications in alternative dairy. Now, granted, it is not fully soluble, so it doesn't work in things like milks or plant-based milks. But when we look at other applications, and we'll get into them in a second, my idea here is to give you an idea of what we've done and hopefully spark a conversation that we can have offline or even at the booth to see how we can work with you on different solutions. So let's take a look. The first, and before getting into that, I want to also show you what our chickpea flour is able to do in terms of function, right? So it's flavorless. It's got great emulsions, as you can see, which are stable for over 18 hours, great gelling capacity as well, which can be used in different plant-based, in dairy alternative applications, and great foaming too. And foaming is, it's used in bakery. It's also used to make cappuccinos essentially foam, right? So the industries that we've obviously talked to include alternative dairy, but various others that I've listed here. So as I promised, let's take a look at some of the applications, and maybe that can spark some thought. The first is cheese, right? When we look at alternative dairy, very often the cheeses are made of starches. They don't carry much nutrition, not much fiber. And we can solve all of that. So cheese companies can now go to the market and say, here's something that's really tasty, but it's also got good for you associated with it, which is really a lot of what this market is about. And we've had some good success with companies in North America that are looking to simplify their label and also work with both traditional and alternative cheese making techniques. When we look at ice creams, it's a similar story. Ice creams need a little bit more protein function, which is what they get from our flour, in addition to the fact that it's a clean taste, simplified label, good emulsions in there, and stability to the product. So again, while plant-based milk isn't something we can access here, we're really working with folks with, plant-based ice creams, yogurt, so on and so forth. The third application, which is really interesting for us, is a lot of hummus companies are making these sort of chickpea dips. And our thought is really, why not let's make that chickpea dip taste like what dairy dip should be, right? And we can do that again because our ingredient is flavorless and it provides that creaminess function as well. So we're really excited about this, and we're working with some more companies in North America. Would love to chat with you guys about it. Apart from alternative dairy, we are looking at various other applications in snacks and meats, so on and so forth. It's not really relevant to the conference, but I thought I'd mention it over here. And with that, I know I've stormed through it rather quickly, but I'd love to open it up to any questions you guys might have and would love to connect.